So when I think about our state and all of the tools that our citizens have in their toolbox to make this state the greatest place that they can live, this is one of those cornerstone tools, the citizen-led initiative petition. The citizen-led initiative petition. When I see changes happening to our current process, it makes me nervous, it makes me concerned, it makes me scared for our citizens, because this is their stopgap for when we are not getting things done in this body, they can still take action. And I know in my short time here in this legislative body, we have passed some good legislation, but it has been small in number compared to what we have passed in the past. And so it becomes the citizen's role and the citizen's right to move legislation forward. And yes, we may not always agree on what the citizens want to see or what the citizens want to do, but the citizens took the initiative and they led that initiative, and a majority passed the initiative. That is a process that I hold sacred, that I hold dear. And when I see that attacked, I'm going to speak up. I'm going to stand up. And I am going to make sure that my constituents know that their right to do this is under attack. So across the state where we have Democrats that can lead them close by, we've held town halls. Within the last week, we've held multiple town halls. I held my town hall yesterday in Springfield, Missouri. Within less than a week's notice, I had a packed room of concerned citizens. Most of them had heard about the redistricting. It's gotten the news coverage, but not as many of them were as aware of what was happening to their citizen-led initiative petition process. And as we walked through the legislation together, I got thank yous for, hey, I'm glad that you brought this to our attention, because I didn't have this on my radar. Here's some of their thoughts as they look through the language of the bill. The whole idea that somebody could vote in Springfield and that vote wouldn't count the same as if it was in rural Missouri struck them. Like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me you're giving greater weight to different areas of the state? Because I don't own land, I live in an apartment, my voice becomes less? Mr. Speaker, you could see the wheels turning. They understand that this isn't right. One voice, one vote. That is how the citizen-led petition process should work. We are all citizens at the end of the day in this body, right? We work to try to do the best we can for our state, right? Citizens are trying to do the same. And while I know in this body, do not all agree, we go along with the vote because that's how we're structured in our state. I find it interesting that this only touches constitutional amendments, and I guess if you're going to have a choice, that's the better choice, and it doesn't touch state statutes. That's good. But the reason why this is so important to us is because what have we done to the citizens that have passed state statutes? What did we do last session? We repealed it. And so they get frustrated. And so what do they feel like they have to do to protect their right? Is to put it in the Constitution. And that's why we have such a lengthy Constitution. Changes to that disenfranchise our citizens. Mr. Speaker, I would like to inquire the lady from Jackson, Mansard District.
Lady from Jackson, do you yield?
I do, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
Good afternoon, lady.
Good afternoon.
So I know I shared a little bit about my town hall in Springfield. You held town halls.
Yes.
Can you give me some of the insight that you heard from your constituents?
Yes, over the last 7-8 days, Democrats have been holding town halls across the state of Missouri. And I actually attended 3 just in the last 5 days, including one last night that I almost didn't go to, and so glad I did. I went to Odessa, Missouri last night, and there were over 60 people who gathered in a community center. And they had questions about the redistricting process, and they had questions about initiative petition. And I thought that I would have to do a lot of basic educational stuff, but in fact, they already knew. Because the people who came, and they were from Odessa and Lexington and Higginsville and Bates City and all kinds of places, they know what the initiative petition does, and they treasure that they have that right. And they understand that that's a right that's been in place for over 100 years now, and they don't want it changed because in Missouri, they feel like they do the best they can to educate and get connected to their legislators, but they also shared last night that a lot of times they don't get calls back, and people don't respond to their concerns. And when they try to reach leaders in the State House, they are thwarted, and they are ignored when they come down to visit. And Citizen Petition offers a way for Missourians to engage in direct democracy. They don't want to lose that. And that was last night in Lafayette County.
And I think that's important to point out. I mean, there are multiple places that we've been. Lafayette County, tell me a little bit about Lafayette County. What's the makeup?
Yeah, it's a very rural county, and a lot of farmers and laborers as well, people involved in labor, agricultural business. Some healthcare workers were there last night, and a lot of teachers and educators. And honestly, it was so much fun. I stayed way longer than I thought, which got me here really late last night. But what I took away from it is that it's not just an issue in the middle of Kansas City, Missouri, in my district. It's an important issue in Lee's Summit, in Springfield, in St. Louis, in Odessa, Missouri.
I think most would agree it is a right to be treasured, a right to fight for, a right to protect. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Thank you, lady. Thank you for the inquiry.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to end this inquiry with a couple of things. One, doing this work in an extraordinary session at the taxpayer's additional expense, that's a tough one for me, especially when I have heard from so many people that they're struggling to make ends meet. We need you to, can you help us reduce costs? We have to have affordable housing, but this is what we're doing. And the second thing I want to leave with, look, I know how this goes. I know how this goes, right? At the end of the day, this is going to pass out of our body. It'll probably pass out on the other side of the chamber. I want to remind the citizens that this will be on the ballot, and citizens will have an opportunity to weigh in on this measure. And I would encourage anyone on any ballot to not sit it out. Make sure that your voice is heard. It is critical to how we run our state. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.